moving on to some news, the developing nations of Africa are popular locations for the application of renewable energy technology. Now, currently, many nations already have small-scale solar, wind, as well as geothermal devices in operation, and this provides energy to urban as well as rural populations. So, the types of energy productions are especially useful in remote locations because of the excessive cost of transporting electricity from large-scale power plants. So, let's have a look at that.
With depleting resources, civilization will soon be required to research and develop alternative energy sources. Our current rate of fossil fuel usage will lead us to an energy crisis this century. In order to survive the energy crisis, many companies in the energy industry are inventing new ways to extract energy from renewable sources.
If you look at the growth of the population in Africa, the UN had 2010 calculated around 1 billion people in Africa, and by 2040 we're going to be 2 billion. So the rise of population means also a huge rise of energy. And there the question is, how are we going to fulfill that need of energy? And this is where we believe that gas can play a huge important role of filling that gap and looking at the energy mix going forward, because gas is very cost efficient, as well as solutions around it. Africa is really looking into moving into renewable energies as well, reducing NOx emissions. So this is where also the hybrid solutions will come important part of it, to make sure that on the one hand side we have renewables, but on the other hand making sure the grid is stable when we do it. So diesel, gas solutions will be an important part of that.
Alternative energy encompasses of anything that does not consume fossil fuel, from solar energy to wind, geothermal, hydroelectrical, and biomass energy. There have been several alternative energy projects running in various countries to reduce our dependency on traditional fossil fuels.
What is important is to look at where is the energy mix going to be for any African country with an increasing need of power. So for South Africa, we do use coal a lot and nuclear, but the question is, how are we going to now fill the rise of energy needs? And this is where alternative solutions will give us more flexibility, and also because of ramping up, we need to be quick. Gas solutions are easy, as I mentioned earlier, to ramp up quickly. And that's the one thing. And also, if we want to push further into renewable energies like solar, wind power, the wind is not always blowing, the sun is not always shining, and this is where you need to stabilize the grid. So you make sure electricity is there, and so diesel as well as gas gensets help to do that. So we have brilliant already running plants like that in remote areas that we call hybrid solutions, where solar and wind do normally the base load, but if there is a lack of solar power or wind power, then the gensets kick in to make sure that the power is stable. Those type of engines have not been built and manufactured in South Africa before, so it's quite a great step into localizing.
MTU Rolls-Royce Power Systems provides an extensive range of systems based on diesel and gas engines for emergency peak loads and base load power generation. Their on-site power generators swing into action within a few seconds to restore power and prevent injury to people, damage to property, and extensive economic losses.
These are two things specifically that we do a lot and where we're very engaged in. The one part is looking for emergency systems, so keeping hospitals going when there might be load shedding or when there might be any lack of electricity, or data centers, so that cell phones still run, etc. So making sure that there is a backup power. But on the other hand, we also engage in really base load, where we build up power plants from small sizes, 1 megawatt, 2 megawatts, even up to, like, you can scale it up as much as you want. What we really want to look into, how can we make a difference in Africa in providing power? And that is, as I said, in numerous ways. We see a huge demand already there and even rising in Africa. And so that structure, will it make easier to move into countries? So that's our plan really for power generation, moving further into sub-Saharan Africa. Our production in Cape Town, we had quite significant new employees that we could take in that regard. So it creates jobs, but not just directly, it's also indirectly with all the construction, etc. When we revamped our whole facility in Cape Town, that brought a lot of jobs. And I think if we take it to power generation, if I look just what the power plant in Mozambique brought, it's at that plant creating jobs, but also outside of that, because energy, electricity, actually helps the community to build up other businesses, because there is stable electricity, and that creates further jobs down the line. We really want to make a difference here in South Africa, but also seeing sub-Saharan Africa as where we want to make that difference. And yeah, as you earlier said, to keep the lights on, this is really what we strive for. We want to provide better power for a changing Africa.